better with the microphone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 12th, 2021 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. We will start with a roll call.
Commissioners Thompson,
Here.
Brodsky,
Here.
Ball, Harbaugh, here, Rothman, Vaughn, here, Myers,
Here.
Capone, Bowman,
Here.
DePlacido,
Here.
Weingarten,
I think that was you. Yeah.
Vehy,
Here.
Schreiber,
Here.
Hecker,
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here.
Thank you. Please note that Commissioners Bowl and Zappone are excused this evening, and I believe Commissioner Rothman will be joining.
And I believe Commissioner Vehy requested to be excused.
No,
as well.
he actually
Did
said he was here.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, so can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Hecker, Laura Lehman.
Well, this is your-
Wishing to address a violation of the Sunshine Law.
You're out of order. Please.
I know, I would like to address a violation of the Sunshine Law, which happened at the last meeting.
No, we're not going to do
that.
We're not going to do that here.
And which you actually
Lehman,
worked to remove the evidence
I will
of.
recess the meeting if you do not sit down.
You actually deleted the audio.
I'm gonna
that was
say
the
again.
evidence of you breaking the law at that meeting.
I'm going to
And-
recess the meeting unless you return to your seat.
Okay, I recess the meeting then.
Hold on.
So I would like to understand if you're going to allow perceived violations of speaking rules to be reported per the Sunshine Law. Okay, so they were removed at the last meeting, and you have the option to restore them, and I'm asking you to restore them to show that that was an unintentional removal. The end of the meeting is after all votes are held, right? That's the same thing that you... Well, what was brought up was the Sunshine Law. Okay, so, well, all right. So let's take away the fact that you have erased the evidence.
Not doing this with you. It's time to sit down.
You erased the evidence of breaking the law.
Okay. So there are a few announcements I need to make this evening. First, President Spiegelman is attending the meeting, but because he is several time zones away, I am serving as this meeting's presiding officer. Secondly, this is the first meeting in which we are using a hybrid format, and so what we will do is we will have the opportunity to call upon the commissioners who are both present in the building and those who are participating by phone or by webinar, and the same thing for members of the public. I intend to call upon those who are physically present first before moving to those who are participating by webinar or by phone. And so there is, my other announcement is that there is one revision to tonight's agenda. Commissioner Weingrad has requested that Public Works Committee new business item PW-02-081221 be deleted and removed from consideration this evening and added to a future business meeting agenda. With that, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
A second.
Okay, the matter has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the matter will be removed from consideration this evening. We do not have any presentations this evening, and so I will now open the floor for public comment on agenda items involving this evening's meeting.
I'm going to ask.
That's
is
fine.
Is this the right time for me to talk about the meeting that we had?
That would be at the end, Mr. Rooney, during general public comment?
Okay.
So one of the comments that you have on the meeting, Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook, and did we get an answer yet, what is required at a meeting, your name and address, or what?
Mr. Manfredi, you have to, Ms. Lehman, you must keep your mask on at all
Oh,
times.
even while speaking?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, hope we can hear. All right, I'll move that a little closer, okay. All right, so last time we had, the item on the agenda is about Whit O'Brien and as consultants. And I think if you review the conversation that you had talking about this, it was pretty darn clear that you were expecting this to go over $25,000. And that is not that requires an RFP over $25,000. And so the conversation went something along the lines of, well, if we run over, we can RFP out the rest of it, or we can find somebody else to do the rest of it. And of course, it doesn't make any sense to have somebody else do it after somebody's done all the groundwork. And so, to me, that was a clear intent to violate the law and not put this out for RFP and to keep it under $25,000 when you were pretty sure it was going to go over.
Actually, I don't think we were pretty clear. I think we were leaving open the possibility of what the board's action would be if that circumstance occurred.
But
We
the
were
way-
also talking about there being multiple phases to this work, including the reporting aspect of dealing with the funding that we will receive.
Well, and that has been done multiple times in the past where there were reasons
We're not talking
that-
about the past. We're talking about this specific agenda item.
Okay, but things were broken down into parts that made something that should have been an RFP not go for an RFP. And really, I believe that should go for an RFP. So I'm going to leave that there. And I'm also going to remind you that the rules of order, which you have apparently, once again, given, even in the new rules that you're proposing, giving yourselves the right to sort of break the rules whenever you want, that's like having no rules. So if you say that you're following Robert's Rules of Order, but then you can change those rules whenever you want, you're not following Robert's Rules of Order.
We actually don't say that. We say we generally follow them, which we're entitled to do.
You say you generally
That's
follow
right.
Robert's Rules of Order,
Generally.
but that the chair has the ability to actually amend the rules as I forget exactly what the language is, but to amend the rules as he sees fit. And so that means you're not following Robert's Rules of Order. If he amends the rules, changes it, doesn't follow Robert's Rules of Order, he's not violating the rules. And the citizens of this township deserve to have their particular legislators follow strict rules the same way they're required to follow these ridiculous rules, okay? So you are required to follow rules, and one of those rules is that you don't argue back from the chair
Ms.
with
Lehman,
the
your time has
residents who are
expired.
speaking.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, all right. So also I'd like to...
No, your time has expired. Thank you.
Oh, well, all right, you're violating the rules.
No, you
Doesn't-
were afforded your 3 minutes, which are what our
Well,
speaking rules.
so you arguing back with me
I'm explaining to you-
took time for me to point that out to you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other comments from members of the public who are present? Ashley, do we have any public comments from those participating via Zoom or phone?
We do not have any residents who wish to make a comment.
Okay, thank you. So we will move on, and I will turn to Ward 14 Commissioner Lori Schreiber to go through this evening's consent agenda.
Thank you, Vice President Hecker. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through K as listed in tonight's meeting materials, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda passes.
And that concludes?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
and that
Commissioner Schreiber.
concludes the consent agenda. Thank you.
We have no unfinished business this evening. We'll move on to new business. As previously indicated, the Public Works agenda item has been removed from consideration this evening, so I am again going to turn this over to Ward 14 Commissioner and Public Safety Committee Chair Lori Schreiber for the matters of the Public Safety Committee.
Thank you. We have one item this evening. It's PS 02081221, motion to adopt ordinance 2183, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 9. One-way highways established, Section 11, turns at intersections, Section 14, stop intersections, and Article 3, parking regulations, Section 25, parking prohibited at all times, no parking between signs, no parking here to corner, parking prohibited except certain hours, no stopping or standing. Section 28, special purpose parking zones to add one-way signs on Edge Hill Road, left and right turn prohibited signs on northbound and southbound Bradfield Road, stop signs on Crescent Avenue at Fortune Road, Seminole Avenue at Montgomery Avenue, Woodland Avenue at Menlo Avenue, Silver Avenue at Parkview Avenue, Hunter Road at Woodland Road and Amity Road, no parking signs on the 2500 block of Rubicam Avenue, no parking here to corner signs on Cleveland Avenue, Cypress Avenue, Chester Avenue, and Corinthian Avenue, no parking between signs on Miriam Avenue, handicap parking signs on Shellmeyer Street and Clemens Avenue, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board who are present? Commissioner Myers.
Thank you. The no parking between signs on Merriam Avenue, for the residents of Merriam Avenue and Galloway, this is the curve which merges the two streets. Those folks living on those two streets will certainly know where I'm talking about. And these no parking between signs will be strictly enforced.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. Any other comments or questions from those here in the room? Are there comments or questions from colleagues participating via webinar or by phone?
Commissioner Fahey, I show that you may be trying to speak, but we are not hearing you.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. No, there are no comments.
Okay, seeing no further questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the matter passes.
And that concludes the public safety agenda this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. We will now turn to the business of the Finance Committee, and I'm going to turn to Vice Chair of the committee, Stuart Weingrad, who is here in the room.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. First order of business is to Treasurer's report. Is Jay Blumenthal on the line?
Thank you. I am on. I hope you can all hear me. I'm in the car, so there may be a lot of road noise. For the township monies deposited into Republic Bank for the month of July 2021, we put in $1,725,775 compared to last year of $4,691,528, with the decrease in $2,965,753. Year to date is the good news, of course. We have a total of $59,291,630. An increase over the prior year of $11,124,607. As for the real estate taxes collected for the month of July, we collected $159,186 as compared to July of 2020 of $876,620, and that's a decrease of $717,434. Even with that said, we're at 97% year to date with a balance of 3% to collect. I don't see that as a problem. I think it's a matter of timing. And on another note, just so everybody knows, the school taxes were mailed out in the beginning of July. And that is my report. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Treasurer Blumenthal. Does anybody have any questions? Those in the room, those at home, or on webinar? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Treasurer Blumenthal. Next item of business.
You're welcome.
Is FC-01-081221. It's a motion to approve the June 2021 expenditures in the amount of $1,700,873.41 and salaries and wages in the amount of $1,972,318.74 and authorizing the proper officials to sign vouchers and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of September 2021. And I so move.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Thompson,
Yes.
Brodsky,
Yes.
Ball, Carswell. Yes. Rossman. Vaughn. Yes. Myers,
Yes.
Capone, Bowman,
Yes.
DePlacido,
Yes.
Weinberg,
Yes.
Fahey,
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
Hecker,
Yes.
Spiegelman.
Yes.
Okay. And that concludes the Finance Committee agenda.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. That concludes the formal business of the Board of Commissioners this evening, and we will now open it up for public comment on non-agenda items, and we will start with members of the public who are here in the room.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Rooney. I live on Maple Avenue in Ardsley. First, Herr Spiegelman, guten Abend and wie geht's? There you go. I'm sure he's really missing us in Germany. Hey, I know you all are aware of this right now, and I'm just referencing, I don't know if this is a way to see this on TV or whatever anybody's doing, but I spoke with Mr. Manfredi about using the township parks for campaigning. And I'll start out by saying Joe Papa came up with a really great idea just to have a movie night over where North Hill School was at the fields there, Conway Field. And he went and approached the Parks and Recreation, was told there's no campaigning and you can't sell things there. And then he started on that. He just started thinking about it. The idea was filched, okay? And I'll ask every one of you commissioners here, how many of you put your campaign signs up on township parks during the campaign? I've never seen them. I live right next to Ardsley Park and right next to Ardsley School. So I've never seen it, and I don't think any of you ever have either. So there's been a convention at the least that township parks aren't used for campaign events. So when this letter came out, it says specifically, movie nights sponsored by 2 of the sitting township commissioners right now. And I was pretty surprised, and I got 4 phone calls from it by 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So I reached out to Mr. Manfredi and asked if I could have a meeting, and following that I also reached out to Mr. Spiegelman also, and so they are aware of what I did and the meeting that we had. So somebody in Joe Papa's campaign came up with this idea, and then 2 other commissioners decided that they were, as sitting commissioners, going to have campaign events on our public parks. So they were advised by Parks and Rec that there's no campaigning in public parks, and that's the way that Joe Papa was approached, and that's what they were told. And they came out and specifically used their offices to put out flyers that, hey, we're going to do campaign events at our public parks, and they filch an idea from a guy, Joe Papa, in Ward 6, and basically go, hey, we're going to show a movie night. And I know that somebody else another commissioner put on Facebook, said, oh, that's a great idea, which I assume they're going to follow it also. Here's my point. I'm sick and tired of underhanded stuff like that going on. If everybody agrees that there's no campaigning on public parks and people haven't done it, and that's what the township Parks and Rec put out to everybody, how come commissioners are allowed to do that? How come other commissioners aren't policing themselves and say, hey, you know, this is an okay idea, but you can't do this and put on sponsored by such and such for commissioner and sponsored by someone such for commissioner. Then I went and did a right to know request, and I wanted to see what the application was, and I wanted to see the permits. So I met with Mr. Manfredi on July 21st. We got together and had a meeting after we talked on the phone, exchanged emails. And one of the commissioners had their permit approved July 13th via just a phone call. The other commissioner didn't even do it himself. He had his wife do it July 21st at 8:49 in the morning. Mr. Manfredi asked me, we met at 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, this should be canceled. He said, I have no authority to do it. So basically, two of our commissioners, sitting commissioners, aware of what's going on as far as convention is concerned in the township, and I had no idea what the regulations or ordinances were, they decided they're going to push the edge of the envelope, steal an ID, and then go do this. And Mr. Manfredi said, I don't have any authority to cancel these events. So at the end of the day, people who are already in office put a squeeze on the Parks and Rec. Then they disregard what is normal convention and the specific things that were told to them by Parks and Rec. They put Mr. Manfredi in an impossibly difficult situation because if there isn't a regulation to say no, what's he supposed to do? So in essence, they use their office, okay? They abuse the system, and they basically open up all of our township parks to campaigning in this election. And what Mr. Manfredi said and what other people said, we'll address this after this election. It's wrong. It's wrong to take other people's ideas, and at the very least, you ought to give them credit for it. There's a young lady in Joe Papa's campaign came up with a great idea. At least give her credit for it. And the second one is, they know they shouldn't have done this, and they did. And then other commissioners go, oh, what a great idea. Maybe I'll do that too. It's just wrong. And you know what? This is crazy times. We're sitting here with these diapers on our face, pretending like it's doing something. And then stuff like that's going on. People are going, what's going on? And I know I'm almost out of time.
Yep.
I would love you to answer the question, but you're not going to. But I would love you to self-police so we didn't have this coming from our elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rooney.
While we're on that topic, Laura Lehman again from Meadowbrook. Everybody knew back when there were probably more Republicans on the board and the channel was born, that putting Mr. Leinot on to make a commercial was actually the same thing that Mr. Rooney's talking about, okay? It was using the channel and the township resources for their campaign. And yet, that's exactly what we're doing now, because you're in the majority and you can. That needs to stop too. And, you know, again, I want to address the violation of the law last time and numerous times before that. And the fact that when we're on Zoom, you don't have a chat or some way of having an interruption for the Sunshine Law that allows a perceived violation to be addressed, and the fact that you didn't address it, and the fact that you're creating public laws that let you off the hook from all the rules and all the proper procedures, all of those things are wrong, and you know that they're wrong, and they are to the detriment of the people that you serve, and it needs to stop. That kind of behavior should not happen in this township, except by deceit, telling people that you are giving them a greater opportunity to speak, when in fact you know you have taken almost all their speaking rights away with that maneuver and jumped over the meetings, telling the people that you're clarifying the process of text and map amendments, when in fact what you're doing is 20 minutes of gobbledygook that basically says we'll do whatever we want to do at the moment, and you're not going to know what it is. That's not a process. That's deceit. And this kind of deceit in this township needs to stop. You have money in the CBDG grant, the community block grant, going to wealthy entities to improve their facilities, and not where the greatest need is. You have our parks in serious decline. And yes, you're putting together a parks committee, but we already have. I don't know, we have a Parks and Recreation Department, we have all kinds of things. They're not being properly used. Who would imagine a Parks Committee is going to be any different? We need to get this stuff straightened out. And the public speaking laws should be inclusive of citizens and what their needs are, We want to be able to use all the fancy equipment that we bought you. We don't want to be denied the use of that. While you have the use of that and we're paying for it, we want to have our rights in this township. And it's important that at this point,
Please finish your thought, Ms. Lehman. Your time has expired.
yes, it's important at this point that you acknowledge what you did last time and that you show that it was an accident and that you allow me the time to speak. I'd ask right now for the 5 minutes to speak on the public comment that I was denied at the last meeting.
That's not the rules of the Board of Commissioners meeting, so your time has expired. Thank you for
So
your
it was
comments.
intentional. Thank you.
I didn't say that. I just said we're not doing it here.
It
No.
wasn't. You have the option to show that it's not
Lehman,
intentional.
thank you for your
by
comments.
reversing it right now.
Thank you for your
You
comments.
have that option.
Thank you for your comments. Ashley, are there members of the public who wish to speak, who are participating remotely? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, I feel that I need to make a comment.
Commissioner Myers, feel
Thank
free.
you. I'm going to break all the rules for the rest of my time. I'd like to speak to what Mr. Rooney talked about. For a very long time, I was under the impression that there was a township ordinance that did not allow campaigning on public property. We certainly know we cannot put yard signs on public property. And what that sign, that poster that Mr. Rooney had suggested, the two candidates used their yard signs, which very clearly say paid for by. That is campaigning. If that sign had said sponsored by Commissioner so-and-so and Commissioner so-and-so, no yard sign, I think that would be legitimate. But nevertheless, using a campaign sign, I think is wrong. If we don't have an ordinance that says that you cannot campaign on public property, because this really opens things up in a way I don't think that we want, and I don't think that the taxpayers of Abington should be paying for any of us to be campaigning, doesn't matter what your party is. So I would request that on next month's agenda or next month's committee of the whole, that we have some draft of an ordinance that says that no campaigning on public property.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.